Good morning and welcome to the 2021 Innovation Forum hosted by the Agricultural Business Council of Kansas City. I am Bob Peterson and I serve as Executive Director of the Council.
It's my pleasure now to introduce Gary Wheeler, the CEO of the Missouri Soybean Association, who will moderate a panel regarding the entrepreneurial sector.
It is my pleasure to moderate this panel discussion from the entrepreneurial sector. We're going to spend about 45 minutes here. All three panelists will have around 10 minutes each, and then we'll have around 15 minutes for question and answer. And if you do have any questions or comments, please place into the chat down below. So our first panelist is Matt Crisp. He's the CEO of Benson Hill. Matt is the entrepreneur, executive, and former venture capitalist who is passionate about connecting technology and business with purpose to deliver global impact. He most enjoys empowering his colleagues, partners, and stakeholders to help realize the vision of a healthier, more sustainable, and more accessible food system. Benson Hill empowers innovators to unlock nature's genetic diversity from plant to plate, with the purpose of creating healthier, great tasting food and ingredient options that are both widely accessible and sustainable. Please welcome Matt Crisp.
Thank you, Gary. Thanks for having me. Thanks, Tony, for the invitation. I think I will share some slides. I wanted to spend a couple minutes just giving folks a quick overview of Benson Hill who might not be familiar with the company. Bear with me for just a moment here. And hopefully that will be in presentation mode now for you. So this will just be a brief introduction. I've got 3 slides here just to again introduce the company and share a little bit about who we are and why we do what we do. The company was founded Benson Hill was founded in 2012, principally out of the Donald Danforth Plant Science Center here in St. Louis. And for those of you who don't know, this is the largest not-for-profit independent plant research science center in the world. We've got a terrific relationship, so much so that there's visions alignment and now geographical alignment. We last year have moved in, although we can't enjoy it to the extent we'd like to. Our headquarters, which you see there pictured in the middle on the Danforth campus here. There's a great ecosystem in the 39 North District here in St. Louis. We located here in part because of the early venture capital we received in the region, but of course the infrastructure, the facilities that we share at the Danforth, the support of the community, and most importantly, the talent that we've been able to recruit here in the Midwest has really anchored us and allowed us to grow quite a bit over the last few years. We've also got a great set of backers behind the company. You see some logos down there at the bottom. Our largest shareholders include Google Ventures, S2G Ventures out of Chicago, Prelude, which is a carbon-focused fund out of San Francisco, Lewis and Clark here with us in the Heartland, and then we've also, and many others, by the way, from food and from ag. But we've also added some strategics over the last 2 or 3 years. You see Louis Dreyfus there, Bunge, Emart, which is the largest retailer in South Korea. They and their mother company account for about 1/3 of the GDP in that country. So we've been able, I think, over the last few years to bring backers with us who share this vision of linking really the grower and the consumer, and taking advantage of a lot of the convergences of technology that the last speaker alluded to as well, anchored on genomics. To be more specific about what that means in real life is, and what do, we use genomics and technology to produce ultimately the food and ingredients that serve the system. And so we have over the last several years developed partnerships and become very deliberate about innovating our business model across this value chain. So while genomics is the lever, and nature's natural genetic diversity is the source of a lot of opportunity to make food and ingredients more nutritious and more sustainable and more affordable. We felt it necessary over time to integrate in part inside of the system, such that we actually run our own closed loop production systems, principally right now in soybeans, which is a major area of emphasis, but use technology to develop better seed, to grow better crops, to contract with farmers, to produce those crops, and then process and sell those ingredients and those food products into the CPGs, into QSR retailers, and ultimately deliver a value proposition to consumers that they care about. So it's truly a plant to plate organization that we've been able to build. And as you saw, there's now hundreds of people on the team working to execute this vision. And then the last thing I'll share is that at the center of that, and really where our core capabilities lie, is in product development. It's using that array of technology, those array of technologies to invest in and assimilate around Crop OS, which is short for Crop Operating System, the insights and ultimately the product development capabilities that allow us to go from genomics and in silico prediction, which we call the design phase, to crop prototyping, where we have our own suite of CRISPR technology and gene editing tools, automated phenotyping, non-invasive approaches using imagery, from the seed level all the way up to drones that fly over our fields, but ultimately to use these data streams to get better and better over time at predictive plant breeding using AI and machine learning, but also utilization of CRISPR and gene editing. And then thirdly is bringing those product concepts to life in development across the board, from not just data science and plant science, but also to food science. And so we've made investments very recently in building out our food science and formulation capabilities, and are now working really from the field all the way through to food to optimize and to continue to improve our product candidates for market. So I'll stop there and pass it along back to you, Gary.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. And then Missouri soybean farmers definitely appreciate the partnership with Benson Hill. So thanks for your service. Our next panelist is Karsten Timme, CEO and co-founder of Pivot Bio. Fascinated with limitless potential of unseen microbes that inhabit our world, Karsten focused his graduate research on nitrogen-producing potential of soil-borne microbes as a solution for more sustainable and safer way to fertilize crops. From this fascination and commitment to create meaningful change in the world, Karsten co-founded Pivot Bio in 2011. The company commercialized its first product for use in corn in 2019 and has since added microbial products for both wheat and sorghum to their lineup. Welcome, Karsten.
Well, thanks for having me. I like Matt, I'll share a few slides about Pivot, tell you more about our story. The passion that I share with my teammates is really how do we do the best we can to serve growers? How do we share with the world our passion for celebrating growers as heroes, and what can we do that provides a bit of a unique solution to problems that every grower faces on a day-to-day basis each year they get into the field. And for us, Gary, like you described, my last 15 years of my life has been focused on nitrogen fixation, and realizing that we're at this unique moment in time where what is living in the soil can be an alternative to chemical fertilizer produced by the Haber-Bosch process. So Pivot is day in and day out focused on using microbes to generate a new source of nitrogen in our fields, and one that really can get at the challenges of how fertilizer makes it hard to reliably and consistently keep our reservoir of nitrogen available for the crop throughout the growing season. So this is the only time I'll talk technology throughout the day, and that's to say science and computation have advanced to this unique moment in time where there's a lot of resources available to our team so that we can build a new product and really peer below the soil, understand what's going on in the roots of every crop, and bring to bear the ability that we can design a product so that it's easy for somebody to use, for a grower to integrate it into the practices they do today, add our microbes to a field at the same time you plant your seed, and as that plant grows, our microbes can grow and divide in the root system of the plant, and then every day fix nitrogen from its atmospheric gaseous form into ammonia and spoon feed that plant. And all of that is possible simply because we have new tools now that we didn't have during the last 120 years. And we've all known that the microbes, the bradyrhizobia living in the nodules of soybeans, have this capability, and the same thing is possible for cereal crops. We just haven't been able to tap into it until now. So technology is wonderful. It's really what gives us the ability to be creative as entrepreneurs and put ideas into practice. And so for us, that practice is how do we make the ability to grow crops more consistent? How do we take away the stress of worrying about whether the nutrients a crop needs are going to be available entirely throughout a season, especially at those points when a crop goes through its growth spurts, and what can we do that also has an added benefit of enabling every grower to be a good steward of the land and make sure that land is productive and something that can get passed on to the next generation. So microbes spoon feeding crops nitrogen, it's something that stabilizes and produces a more consistent yield. And the nice added benefit is we remove a lot of runoff and atmospheric pollution from the system. So some of the folks we serve, it's our goal to be able to commercialize products anywhere that our commodity crops are grown. Our primary focus is going to be corn, wheat, rice, some of the other cereal grains and soybeans, and the kind of folks that we can get out and visit. So I think a little bit of that last panel talked about some of the challenges of COVID, and one of the challenges for us last year is what makes us tick is getting out to visit growers, to walk fields with them, see our product in action, to get their feedback on what we could do better. Because everything we do is a continual interaction of trying to do better tomorrow than we did today, make a product that performs better tomorrow than the current version does, and to do that as fast as we can. And so the toughest part about COVID for us was it put a damper on our ability to get out in the field and to visit our customers and to learn from them. So what I'm looking forward to in the year ahead is really being able to do more out in the field, use the world around us as really our test bed for learning more and building better products. And we're just getting started. We're on a small footprint relative to how many of our commodity crops are grown across the U.S. and around the world. And we want to be able to scale to serve growers everywhere and really to have an impact all across the U.S. and the world. So looking forward to talking more about what it means to be able to serve growers better and where we can go in bringing innovation to bear in the marketplace.
Thank you, Karsten. Greatly appreciate it. You definitely have been fixated on nitrogen for the past 10 years, and I know our farmers appreciate that. So our next panelist is Naeem Zafar, CEO of Telesense. Naeem is a serial entrepreneur and currently serves as the co-founder and CEO of Telesense, an Internet of Things company creating real-time wireless sensing and predictive analytics solutions for stored grain industry. He notes that grain never improves in quality once it is harvested. Growers and grain handlers need to make a myriad of decisions about conditioning, merchandising, logistics, storage, and transport to preserve their profits. A lot of these decisions are made with patchy data and heuristics. What if there were continuous data collected and prescriptive insights allowed people to make decisions with better outcomes? This is exactly the problem that Telesense is solving. He will elaborate on how AOT technology and AI is transforming the post-harvest grain market. Welcome, Naeem.
Well, thank you very much, Gary. Good to be with all of you. I'm dialing in from Silicon Valley, California, near San Francisco. So that is very different weather than some of you are maybe experiencing. So just like you heard from other panelists, we are highly focused on post-harvest grain. So earlier speakers talked about when stuff is before you plant it, once you planted it. We start once you have harvested it. So as you know, this is a business when the profits are tight. So you have to figure out, is there any way to extract a few more pennies per bushel? And that's the whole thing we are focused on, and we think this is possible. So let me just give you a bit of a sense what we do. The fact is, we are a data company. We are allowing people to make better decisions based on data. You're already generating data. How long has it been since we harvested? Where was it stored? What's the weather been like? What kind of treatment, if any, did it get? What's the best time to merchandise and sell my corn or my soybean? So you need some help, and people have been making those decisions based on heuristics, personal experience, and they're right half the time. But we believe that those decisions could be further improved if you had continuous data and you had some algorithm helping you make the decision. Where we're trying to go by adding artificial intelligence and machine learning, make you even better decisions. Now, if you're a grower, sure, it'd be nice to see a bunch of numbers about moisture and temperature, but you know what I really would like? Send me a text message, turn on the fans on bin number 3 at midnight for 8 hours. That's prescriptive. I can deal with that because somebody has analyzed the weather prediction, moisture in the air, my grain moisture, all those conditions could be analyzed and just tell me what to do. Better yet, even turn it on for me because I'm in Hawaii. So this is the kind of where you can have some intelligence and prescriptive actions. That's what we as a Telesense as a company has been focused on for the last 5 years. So idea is we start by monitoring grain through using simple, easy to use sensors. No more those cables hanging from the ceiling, which break down and are cumbersome. Our simplicity is a sphere. This sphere has multiple sensors along the shaft. You stick it in, all the electronics is here. You're sending data wirelessly. We're capturing the data and we're helping you make smart decisions based on that data. So companies like logos you will recognize is already using this technology. So this is ideal on a barge. If you're sending the grain down the Mississippi, sometimes barge is stranded for a few weeks. Ideal condition for bad things to happen. Many barges go up in smoke. The sphere like that inserted is telling you where the barge is, what's the temperature inside, should you take some action now? Or grain piles or bins. So hay is another use case, same problem. You can have catch fire all the time, biological activity, hotspot grows, next thing you know is going up in flames. So this is the point is by simply, depending on the structure you have, if you have bin with cables, we have a box we call the Buffalo, which will interface with existing cable, start sending data wirelessly, continuously, automatically. So you can breathe new life into your old cable system. If you don't have bins with cables, we have something which I'll call Spider. You put one in the headspace, one in the plenum, and you're listening what's going on inside. If you have ground piles or barges or silo bags, the spheres I showed you will work ideally. So this is the point. As you push air in from the fan, the air carries the information with it when it reaches to the headspace. Temperature, moisture, carbon dioxide. Between those 3 things and a little bit of machine learning algorithms, you begin to see what's going on and you can take action before it's too late. Or if you have temporary storage, like we had to deal with after Duraccio last year, then this could be ideal condition to knowing what's going on inside. The nice thing is how you view the information. Is sure, you can have charts and graphs, that's all available. But what if you can just pick up your phone and you can see your storage location? You can walk around and you can pinpoint where the risk zone may be. And you can click on any of the spheres icon, you see the temperature inside and the moisture inside. So this kind of a user interface gives you a feel how the grain is doing. When should you pick it up? And then you can set targets for moisture. I want it to be 14%. So tell me when to turn the fans on and off. So I get to 14%. So all that is done through user interface and automation. And this is installed, this we call the Spider. It has a cellular connectivity. You just plug it in here, nothing to install, it's magnetic feed, it clicks in. Down here, you see inside the bin, corn, and you see the CO2 sensors. And the temperature sensors are hanging in there. So pretty simple to install, 20 minutes, you're done. You don't need to call an electrician. And the fan turns on, we automatically sense the fan is on, we automatically start collecting data very fast because air will be pushed into the grain. Listen to the wind. Wind knows. The bottom line is, if it costs you about 2 pennies a bushel to use the solution, you should see a benefit of 8 to 9 cents a bushel in one season. So it comes from not having to turn the fans on all the time, making better decision about spoilage and merchandise timing. I'm showing you on the left-hand side is the last year's corn price. It was like $3.60, $3.55 a bushel end of April. But if you knew the corn is pretty good, you can hang on to it for another 6 weeks. It goes up to close to $3.90, $3.85 a bushel. That's a big difference. This is a business when growers dealing with tight margins, so you need every penny per bushel you can get out of it. So that's sort of my high-speed version of what we do. I'll be looking forward to engaging with you all and answering more questions. But this technology is being used in Australia, in Europe, all over Midwest. And we're pretty excited that we are able to take wireless sensing and artificial intelligence machine learning to give you insights it was not easy to get before.
Thank you, Naeem, and thanks to all of our panelists. We still have some time for questions. Looks like we have about 8 minutes here, and please place any of your questions or comments into the chat. Up front, I do have a couple, and as staff and soybean farmers, we have a true passion to serve. The passion that goes into entrepreneurship is something that comes up a lot. And this goes to all three of you. What drives you to serve, not just your company, but you guys just don't do this. There has to be a passion behind it. So what pushes you to serve?
Well, I can say one thing is that world population is going up, 26% in the next 25 years? And arable land is not going up 26%. Something gotta give. So it pains me to see how much food we waste throughout the whole supply chain. So if we can make a small dent and preserve that and the energy, it makes your professional life meaningful. So that to me is not complicated.
Okay.
I'd say,
Or Matt?
yeah, I'd offer, when we started the company, I think we're really principally focused on initially on the grower side and on agronomic kinds of traits, but with this arrow on sustainability. And what we've learned over time is that by evolving the business in a manner that links to the consumer, the degree of impact that we can have as a company is massive. And there's not a lot of attention being paid on starting with the consumer and pulling back value to the grower. So I tell you, I speak for our colleagues that I get to work with every day when I say, there's a lot of people, especially in the generations that are beginning to work, who are very passionate about bringing impact to the food system. And so we're using a lever that's understood and technologies that have exponentially grown in efficiency and reductions in cost, but we're using that towards a series of impacts that will fundamentally change the way that the food system is set up, that it operates, the transparency that it's provided, the visibility that the consumers granted. So it's a sort of, I think, core sort of decommoditization in some respects of what's there, and it's linked inextricably to a lot of positive human health and environmental health impacts.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks, Matt. Karsten?
I'm sure it's true for a lot of folks on the conference today that being able to serve others is just how you were raised. And for me, the link to entrepreneurship came when I was at school up the road in Iowa City. So I'm an Iowa Hawkeye, and my first exposure to entrepreneurship was some coursework there. And I discovered my passion is really trying to translate those discoveries that are just at the cutting edge of science or academia into a spot in the world when they can touch us all. So how do we get access to some of the latest inventions that can make our lives better? And for me, the role in being able to help make those connections and link people together is really fulfilling. And so I think that's at the heart of the way Alvin and I tried to build Pivot, and some of the values we've built into our culture is being able to pursue the best ideas, being able to talk openly about the good and the bad of the ideas, and trying to figure out how what we can do to try to inspire the rest of our teammates to go after those big, bold ideas in service of our customers. That I think is what we try to espouse is what makes Pivot tick. So it just happens that we work on nitrogen, and more the organization is really geared to saying, we need to listen, and we need to be creative in what it takes to solve a problem. And I think that's just the heart of what it means to serve others.
That's awesome. Maybe the three of you can't help Kevin up at Iowa State continue his innovation work and with students and so on. That would be awesome. Looks like we have some questions from the crowd here. This is to, I guess, all of you guys. Question for the panel is, we've heard a lot this morning about commercial innovations in farming and crop production. How do we position the beef industry as an attractive space for innovation and investment?
I think that answer. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Nish.
No, I was going to say there's nothing magical about it. Entrepreneurs are naturally driven because they understand a domain, and they see a way to make a difference. I'm sure there are entrepreneurs in the beef industry which know the business and looking to change things, improve things. We as a community need to mentor them and encourage them. I don't know much about beef industry, so I personally cannot be helpful, but I do know how to build companies. This is my 7th company I've built. So, when you connect with people, they mentor you, you have the idea, we can help you. That's what it's all about.
I was just going to add, I don't know much about the beef industry either, but we do have customers across the feed areas, more in poultry, swine, and aqua. I think dairy will be a medium to long-term area that we've got some focus on. And I'll tell you that every one of those industries, and I have to think the same for beef, is paying more and more careful attention to the opportunities that exist at the consumer level. Consumers want, I'm just going to use the same words again, traceability, transparency. They want values alignment. And it's funny, I went to college with a buddy, and his father was raised beef, and we would buy from him each year, or with our neighbors, we'd all go in and buy a head of cattle. Anyway, the point is, we did that because we knew him. We understood where it came from. We knew how it was raised. And it was a, in its truest sense, a farm to fork option. And it was great. And we felt good about it. We felt good about how the animal was raised. We felt good about what we were consuming. And I think that, well, that's 5 years ago, 10 years ago now. I think that's a perfect example of how there's these linkages are creating value that can be passed and should be passed back to the farmer. So that's a general statement, but I can't assume that the beef industry is excluded from it.
Mm-hmm.
Only thing I'll add is from experience at Pivot, and that was so much of where we are today is because folks have helped open doors for us. And some of our first investment came from Monsanto Growth Ventures. And one thing that group did that was really unique at the time is they were very open about talking about the challenges that Monsanto faced as an organization, and almost a billboard to say, can somebody help us solve this problem? And for us, it was a breath of fresh air, because it started conversations, and we were encouraged to come in and say, here's how we think we can help solve that. And I think too often folks are guarded about the challenges in their business, or the challenges that they think could be an Achilles heel. And the more you can share that with others, the more you might be able to find connection with folks who could help solve a problem in a unique way. So that's my encouragement. If you want, whether it's beef or any other type of challenge we face, talk about it and find people who can help solve it.
Those are great points. I know Scott Brown is amongst the group here, and he and I are working here in Missouri to build upon and expand the beef industry here in Missouri. So I challenge the three of you and all of your colleagues nationwide to maybe focus at Missouri and to see where we can expand, bring in technology, and really help the cattle industry and all of our farmers here in Missouri. So just a challenge to all of you guys. So you're the smart ones. Here's a question for Naeem. In your business model, how do you generate revenues?
So two ways. You can buy the spider or the spear I showed you, and that spear is like $480, and then you pay a small subscription fee, like $12 a month, for data access, insights, and whatnot. Or if you don't want to spend the money up front, you can rent the whole thing for $30 a month. So 1-year contract. So it's a leasing model and a purchase model.
Okay, thank you. Another question for Naeem. What are your thoughts in replicating Silicon Valley entrepreneurship ecosystem in the Midwest, rural and suburban areas? And then it says, I appreciate your participation in TYE Entrepreneurship Bootcamp, where over 20 plus Midwest high schoolers are learning basics of entrepreneurship. So there's a thank you in there besides the question.
So, entrepreneurs are everywhere. They're not just in Silicon Valley. So Silicon Valley makes it easy because investors are here and lawyers are here and talent is here, but they're everywhere, especially Midwest, no shortage. I started my first company in Minnesota. That's where I did my graduate school. So I know all about that. So, I've been doing a lot of volunteer work. So TYE is a youth entrepreneurship group. So I've been teaching a class to them about how to take your ideas and convert them into businesses. So there's so many programs. We heard just in this thing, some very interesting ideas. So entrepreneurs around you, what I encourage you guys to do, if you're starting a company, spread the learning. Talk to your local university, be a mentor. I teach at University of California, Berkeley. I teach entrepreneurship. So it's all about spreading what we have learned. The first 40 years of my life, I absorbed from the world. Now I'm trying to give back to the world. Why not?
That's awesome. Matt got their start at Donald Danforth, which is what a fantastic asset. Globally. But maybe that's some partnership there, or at the University of Missouri, maybe we can't bring you in and start something here in Missouri for. That would be awesome. This is a question to all of you. When launching a new company, what marketing, advertising practices do you target market, or did you work? What did work?
Well, I can only offer and Carson might agree with me here. I mean, for when you're starting a company like a Benson Hill that has a heavy duty technology focus to it, frankly, the first few years, you're just trying to see if your stuff works. You know, a lot of Series A, seed, even Series B companies that are in our ecosystem don't yet have a business model, frankly, or might have some idea about a business model. When you demonstrate that things start to work, right, that's when, of course, you need to toggle, you know, your focus and evolve and possibly innovate the business model. What works and doesn't work, I'll say we were, one thing we did well, I think, early on, and we have a couple people who have really strong backgrounds in this, is we engaged stakeholders really early on as a company. You know, I mean, we didn't assume that we knew what the end markets were. We're a B2B business. And so what I like to often say is, in a B2B business or a B2B2C business, our customer knows the ultimate customer better than I ever will. And I need to trust them and I need to hear them, because it informs how we're going to develop and ultimately market our own products, right? And so this was 3 or 4 years ago when we began engaging, you know, that stakeholder base. And it's not complicated. It's just a thoughtful, open-minded, kind of curious process that you run yourself through, and then understand better what the market desires, and then structure your marketing around that and those answers.
Very good. Anyone else would like to add to Matt's comments?
You know what works, which is not obvious, what most farmers do watch? TikTok. Who would have thought? So there's some new ways to reach your target audience, which was totally not obvious. Of course, at the end of the day, they're a skeptical audience. You gotta go, you gotta press some flesh, you gotta shake some hands. So you can't do just like social media at Facebook. That's nice to get the word out. So that's what we have found, that we call them up, we stop by, we shake some hands, and that's the best way to sell. But don't ignore TikTok.
Very good.
I'd say if we did a survey of everybody here today, we'd probably find a lot of folks have heard about Pivot, and that's because of just how much our team has invested and done a great job spreading the word and really trying to highlight the product we're working on commercializing. And we've taken a strategy to try to integrate into what already exists, work with the tools that every grower has today, and work through the channels that everybody communicates. The folks who give growers advice, the way that everybody gets their news today. And so that means really running everything as an experiment. It's all about trying to get the word out through as many channels as possible and as many people as possible, and just trying to work alongside everybody in the industry. So nothing really magical about that, except call it a blitz on every front.
Great. Okay, this question's for Karsten. Given the pace of innovation at Pivot Bio, do you think it's likely that we will see the day where your product is able to fix double the amount of nitrogen from the results you're seeing today?
I can confidently say yes. That's in the rearview mirror for us. So the technical capabilities, the possibility is we are the sole source of nitrogen that crops need. And it's a matter of syncing up the pace of commercialization with the pace that R&D takes us. So looking forward to a lot of exciting things in the future.
That's big news, brother. That's awesome.
That is big news.
Well, let us get out in the marketplace at some point down the road here. But we'd like to try to get new innovation out as fast as we can.
Well, I will say this on a personal plug, Karsten, Missouri Soybean Association and the University of Missouri does work in this space extensively, and we would love to be able to look at your product, do some trials, and we could privately do that. So sorry for the personal plug, but we would love to be able to partner with you, buddy.
Well, looking forward to continuing the conversation. And I think open invite to everybody. We really would like to find better ways to work with folks, partner with everybody. So you can reach out to me. It's just Karsten at Pivot Bio, and we can follow up and build on these conversations.
Perfect. And we've already partnered with Matt. So Naeem, we look forward to getting some of your equipment and some of our bins on our research farm. So
Absolutely.
any last comments before we depart?
I think my parting comment is there's a huge wave coming in ag with technology. The new generation, which is coming up, they are tech savvy and they want to do things differently than the dad did and the granddad did. This is an inflection point. Don't ignore it. This is big. Over $1 billion went into that in ag tech investor. Suddenly, for the many years, say ag tech, I got some weird looks on people's face. Now it's one of the hottest industry. So you guys came to the right place. Jump on the wagon.
Well, come on back to the Midwest and make it happen even bigger.
Indeed.
How's that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's do it. Matt, Karsten, anything else, gentlemen?
I just say, similar to Carson, we're open for business. We're looking for partners who are interested to advance the system. We've got grower recruitment programs underway right now to grow beans this year, next year, many years that offer a terrific premium. And in that stride, I'd offer that we can't think about specialty or some people sort of refer back to me niche as a small scale opportunity. The convergence of technology and what we're talking about in the food system will allow specialty to be scalable in the system. And that's where I feel we're really at the doorstep of helping realize that. And we're very, very open and eager to partner and collaborate with folks across the value chain.
Fantastic.
Well, thanks for having us. It's been a great conversation, and I'm really thrilled to see so many folks with a passion for entrepreneurship, and all that means to me at the end of the day is trying to make stronger connections between folks and share ideas to solve the problems we all face. So coming off the year we've had, I think having the ability to connect here virtually is great, and I'm looking forward to being able to do that in person. As we progress forward from here.
Well, thanks, gentlemen, and we truly are blessed in the times that we're in. So keep up the great work, and know that everybody on this panel is here and we're backing you. So thanks again, and I'll hand it back over to Tony.
Thanks, Gary.
Gary, thank you so much for moderating the panel, and Naeem, Karsten, and Matt, thank you so much for your comments and your insights. I think one of the big things that everyone, especially aspiring entrepreneurs, needs to take from this is the communication and the outreach that I know these three gentlemen have done as they've grown their company. I've had the pleasure of knowing Karsten and Matt for a number of years, and their collaboration and their outreach and the diligence they put into talking to customers and downstream partners has been tremendous. One other additional programming note for next year, I've already begun emailing with Matt. We are going to have a TikTok from Matt and Benson Hill. I'm already and choreography. So really excited about seeing Matt dance next year at the Ag Innovation Forum 2022.
That was a Naeem thing. Hashtag don't ignore TikTok. I'm gonna. That's all Naeem. That's not me.
I love it.
I remember, Matt, I do know a few of your board members. I may be able to see if I can make this happen. On that note, we have finished the morning session. Thank you again for all of our speakers, all of our moderators, Carl Casali for his keynote address. It's been a very good morning. Really appreciate the comments. We are now going to stand in recess from now until 1:30 p.m., at which point my colleague from TechXL, Mike Rolson, will pick up the MC duties and take us through the afternoon session. Thank you, everybody, for being in attendance, and I look forward to seeing you here at 1:30.